They say that you should never meet your heroes. Well, I guess we're about to find out if that saying is true. So move over, Mando. There's a brand new helmet removing controversy that's going to be brewing. Don't want to spoil anything for you, but in a move that is quoted as being 20 years in the making, the new Halo television series is taking the incredibly bold step of removing the helmet off the Master Chief, allowing fans to fully see this iconic character's face for the very first time.
Since the part will not be played by the actor who was provided the voice of the Chief in each of his previous gaming adventures, our review of the Master Chief will be changed permanently and literally the moment his ever-present helmet is just removed.
So we're not going to talk much about what's going on in the television show because we don't want to spoil anything. So I just want to share some of the questions that are flooding my mind. Will this be an epic and emotional reveal like the first time we saw the face of Din Djarin in The Mandalorian? Or will it be maybe somewhat disappointing and anticlimactic, like the moment Luke, removed Darth Vader's helmet and we realized Anakin Skywalker clearly wasn't getting enough sun underneath all of that? Maybe it'll be treated as a casual throwaway shot. Chief just takes off his helmet because he wants to eat a sandwich or something. Brought to you by Subway. For better or for worse, that helmet is as much a part of the Master Chief's mystique as are his heroic actions in combat. We instantly identify him by his armor, even though we honestly have a very limited idea of what John 117 actually looks like under there. Perhaps that's a big part of what has made him so incredibly popular for so long.
It is highly likely that most of us already have our own idea of what the Master Chief really looks like under that green helmet here. Go ahead, bring your version of him to life in your mind's eye. I'll wait.
Not inside of this actual helmet. If
No.
we had a head in there, that would be
really weird.
felony. So take a mental snapshot of that image while you still can, because the reality is that both your version and mine will be forcibly reconciled with the cinematic version of this character the first time that we watch the episode that contains the helmet removing moment. And whether we like it or not, there's a pretty good chance he's not going to resemble our preconceived picture of him.
I think the part of what made Halo so special was the, everyman quality that the Master Chief presents. Sure, he is a bionic super soldier capable of winning entire galactic wars single-handedly
Several
here,
of them, actually.
But somehow he remained relatable in spite of his over-the-top adventures. For a guy, who never let us see his face, he always felt, I don't know, like human.
Well, one
I
would hope
guess.
he is.
Well, yeah, but
One of the things that made each of our versions of the Chief so great is that we could step into his boots and feel like he's our Master Chief. While it's certainly an exciting step in the Halo journey to finally see a canon view of this character that I personally have spent much time with, part of me's sad, because once his helmet is removed, there's no going back.
No.
My mental vision of one of my favorite all-time characters will be irrevocably changed. Might not like what I see.
Here's the thing, okay? Is this really a big deal? Really, to see a face and a fictional character's face at that, what does it really change? He's still the same Master Chief, right? The truth is that nothing is actually going to change about who he is or how he really looks. Just our perspective and awareness of him will be changed.
Once that action has occurred, all of our preconceived ideas are thrown out the window.
Yeah.
Our reality will now and forever be defined by what has been revealed underneath. We may be challenged to accept a different version of the character than we'd prefer, perhaps different than what we thought they should be. And in many ways, mankind's struggle to accept the reality of Jesus Christ as the physical representation of the living God has been mired in the exact same predicament. For a period of about 33 years or so, God came down and took off his helmet, and he let us see him for exactly who he truly is.
And he did it as a human, with a face that we could see and a heart that we could break and with hands that we would scar. The face that he showed us certainly surprised everyone living at the time, and it might surprise you too. And we may find that we are able to relate to the face he revealed under the helmet much more than we realize. I mean, are you ready to see what he truly looks like?
Well, when it feels like everything's going wrong in our lives, it's easy to picture, an omnipotent God sitting comfortably on his golden throne, no face or anything, just all shine, completely oblivious to our heartache and our struggles. But if anyone understands a life of grief and pain, Jesus does. He didn't live a life of wealth and luxury. I mean, he had to send Peter out to go fishing because he couldn't pay his taxes. He didn't have the support of a loving family. I mean, his own brothers didn't even believe in him. His grown brothers.
No.
In his time of deepest need, some of his closest friends betrayed him. His people disowned him. His church falsely accused him. And his followers abandoned him. And then finally, his government, well, they thought that wasn't enough, and they murdered him.
Yep. Jesus came down and removed the helmet that prevented us from seeing God for who he truly is. He allowed us to see his pain, his tears, his anger, and his heartbreak. When we experience these frustrating feelings, he completely understands, and he made himself accessible to us so we could come closer, free of the fear of being misunderstood or rejected, because he knows exactly what all of these negative feelings feel like, because that is what he experienced down here too.
The irony about the helmet that Master Chief wears is that it makes him both relatable as well as inaccessible. Until he removes that helmet, he'll continue to look the way we all imagine that he looks like in our mind. But that mental picture we have of him is only that. It's just an image. Once he removes that helmet, a part of what made us feel like we could relate to him may disappear, but we will also finally see him for who he truly is, which in the story is a human who was abducted as a child by the government, horribly experimented on, and then endured a lifetime of loss and pain. And yet, he continues to finish the fight, even when he is betrayed by the very people that he's fighting for. No matter what that face looks like when the helmet comes off, the level of humanity in this fictional, enigmatic warrior should maintain his status as a heroic everyman, no matter how much his physical image diverges from our expectations.
When Christ came down, he shattered everyone's idea of what being a Messiah was supposed to look like. He let us see a physically broken and beaten Savior who carried the weight of sins he never committed just so he could hold our face in his hands again.
He chose, he didn't have to, he chose to be physically plain and ordinary. He could have looked however he wanted. He chose to be verbally mocked and ridiculed. He could have silenced people very easily. He chose to be internally hungry and tired. He chose to be emotionally lonely and hurting, just so we could look him in his eyes and see his compassion and understanding when we endure the same pain. He sees us right now exactly where we are, and his nail-scarred hands can carry us through the storms we are currently facing, because he has already calmed these waves before.
He may not look the way we thought he did, and that's okay. Remove that unapproachable helmet that we may have placed over his face and see him as he truly is, as the only one who has truly walked our walk and felt our pain. Every loss we have endured, he has too.
And a lot more.
Yeah.
He has also cried out in prayer in the middle of the night and failed to receive the response he wanted.
That's Jesus. Yeah.
He isn't just the all-powerful God who saves. He is the all-knowing God who understands. He took off his helmet so we could see his face. And he let us abuse and murder him so we could receive his grace. He loves us more than we could possibly comprehend. And if you don't believe me, just ask him why he chose to remove his armor and become one of us when he didn't have to. He did it so every one of his children, no matter how far we have fallen, could touch his face again.